doing? Okay guys, so today I'm going to do a speech over media and how they want you to believe their side of the story over anything else. So the first level that we're going to hit is going to be the level of inaccuracies when it comes to the news stories. Public confidence in the media is already really low and it's still continuing to slip. A poll by USA Today, CNN, Gallup found that 36% of Americans believe news organizations get the facts straight compared to 54% in the mid-1989. So it's gone down drastically, about 20%. The level of inaccuracy noticed is even higher when the public has first-hand knowledge of a news story. Almost 50% of the public reports having had first-hand knowledge of a news event at some time, even though they were not personally a part of the story. Of that group, only 51% said the facts in the story were reported accurately, with the remainder finding errors ranging from misinterpretations to actual errors, like names getting wrong or dates or ages and things like that. Another really big thing is sensationalism. The more dramatic the story, the more views it's going to get. So there is a tendency for the press to play up and dwell on stories that are sensational, such as murders and car crashes, kidnappings, and sex scandals, obviously. In a study by the American Society of Newspaper Editors, 80% of the American public said they believe journalists chase sensational stories because they think they will sell papers, not because they think it's important. Another 85% believe sensational stories receive lots of news coverage simply because they're exciting and not because they're important, which to me, a murder or a car wreck is kind of important, but they only care about the views. A 1999 poll by the Columbia Journalism Review and the nonprofit research firm Public Agenda of 125 senior journalism nationwide found that 70% of respondents felt that most news organizations do a poor or fair job of informing the public about errors in their reporting. Barely a quarter called it good, and a paltry 2% awarded a rating of excellent. On May 4, 2015, there was a Fox News story that an unarmed African-American man had been shot by the Baltimore police. At this point in time, there was a lot of riots going on in Baltimore. I don't know if you guys are aware of everything that was going on over there. But there were witnesses being interviewed stating that the man had been shot for no reason by the police. Fox reported this live only to find out that all of those statements were actually wrong. There was no shooting at all. Police dispatched because business building cameras saw that this guy had a weapon on him, and when the police were sent to arrest him, he dropped his weapon and it discharged. So everybody thought that he got shot by the police when in reality he didn't. So and it was already a really bad time in Baltimore at this time, so it only made things worse and made people riot more and whatnot, instead of just letting Baltimore move on from the previous incident. But because Fox wanted to be the first to report this, they just decided to neglect all the actual information, and they ended up investigating wrong, and it led to poor journalism. Government is also something that's a big part of the media, but it's actually starting to go down a lot more these days. The Project for Excellence in Journalism reporting on the front pages of the New York Times and Los Angeles Times and ABC and CBS and on the Time Newsweek showed that from 1977 to 1997, the number of stories about government dropped from 1 in 3 stories to 1 in 5. So that's about 2 stories that have been lost. While celebrity stories rose from 1 in every 50 to 1 in every 14. Why are celebrities important? I don't know, but the government is the one who picks our pockets. They're the reason people get sent to jail. They run highways through our backyards, and they're the ones that decide to send us to war. So why celebrities are being put above this, I don't know. Knowing what government does is the news we need to keep our freedoms, which was actually something said by Bill Moyers. Media's short attention span. Have you guys ever been watching the news and it's this huge story and it's blown out of proportion for 2 to 3 weeks, and then out of nowhere it's just gone because something else happened? That's a really big thing. A lot of times you don't even hear how these stories end. So that's another thing that I kind of wanted to touch base on, was the media's short attention span. A lot of the times there will be a story that's extremely popular and it's all we hear about, and then out of nowhere it's just gone. Anthony Downs began observing what he called the issue attention cycle with American media in the 1970s. Downs stated that the cycle is the news media and the public ignore a problem for a lot of years, then suddenly out of nowhere it's noticed, and then crisis is declared, and then they try to find a solution, and when they realize that the problem is going to be too costly, they just kind of go back to ignoring it. And media kind of does the same thing with celebrity stories and things that are not important. I want to kind of focus on the huge profit margins. As we said earlier, the more stories that you bring in and the more viewers that you have, the more money that those particular newscasters make. The American people agree with Overholser and Gordon, who is a former editor of the Des Moines Register and a board member of the Pulitzer Prize Board. Gordon is a professor of news media and public policy at the Evans School of Public Affairs at the University of Washington. And in an in-depth by the American Society of Newspaper Editors found that 59% of Americans said newspapers are concerned mainly with making profits more than actually serving the public interest or actually delivering news. So a lot of time, money is going to be the motivation. They're going to stick with the sensational stories that I said about earlier, and they're just going to kind of roll with them. Something else that I kind of wanted to show you guys is just, this is the number of evening news audience in millions. So as you can tell here, it's a little bit lower, it kind of jumbles up and down. I'm guessing it's just because that's when phones became really popular and everybody was just kind of bringing it up on their phone instead of watching the actual news. But if you continue to go, you just see, and this is the number in millions. So this is how many people are watching the news, and that's how many people are receiving this information and are getting the media side and not any other side. So, all right, thanks you guys.